Everyone laughed when a bankrupt 60-year-old millionaire took in a blind homeless girl who played the harmonica just to earn her next meal. To them, it was the last desperate act of a man who had lost everything. But they were wrong, dead wrong, because this girl hadn't just survived the streets. She carried a mind so extraordinary. She could hear the truth hidden inside a world built on lies and numbers. If you couldn't see the numbers, but could hear what they really meant, would you dare to take down a system fueled by greed and deception? At 60, John Whitaker stood as a figure of legend in Newark's financial realm, a man whose sharp instincts had forged empires and vanquished rivals with a mere flick of his pen. In that moment, he found himself in a humble walk-up apartment in Brooklyn, a stark contrast to the luxurious penthouses that had once been his domain. The skyline that had once been his dominion now towered above him, a harsh testament to the treasures he had forfeited. Once, his name adorned the grandest of buildings, a testament to his triumphs. But now, it lay erased, a ghost of his former glory, as his fortune was devoured by the treachery of the one he had once called a brother. A partner in dreams turned into a nightmare. Each day flowed seamlessly into the next, his existence distilled into the sharp taste of coffee and the weight of silence. Yet, on one frigid morning, as he strolled by a subway grate, the steam billowed into the biting wind, marking the moment everything shifted. In a worn and tattered coat, a small girl sat, her age barely reaching 10 years, with her pale eyes fixed on the void. She sat in silence, a harmonica cradled gently in her lap. She played with an enchanting grace, not seeking the spotlight or pity, but weaving a tapestry of haunting beauty. John came to a gradual halt. For reasons he couldn't articulate, he chose not to stroll by like the others. In that moment, he paused, attuned his ear sand for the first time, and just experienced a surge of emotion. The last note of the harmonica lingered in the atmosphere as John drew near. Eli turned her head toward him, feeling the weight of his presence before his words filled the air. "Your music is enchanting," he remarked, his voice gravelly from silence. Her lips curled gently in a subtle smile. "I appreciate it, kind sir. It softens the chill, making it seem a bit less overwhelming." That answer hit John like a bolt from the blue, resounding, a term he had never linked to chill. Yet in that instant, it resonated with clarity. The clamor of existence had grown overwhelming for him in recent times, echoes of regret, shadows of failure, and the weight of shame. In a moment of pure magic, this little girl managed to encapsulate everything in a single word. "Is this a place you frequent?" he inquired, lowering himself beside her. "Since the day Grandma fell ill," she responded. "Once upon a time, she would take me to the shelter after school. Yet, ever since the hospital took her, there's only this place." As she reached for her harmonica once more, John softly laid his hand over hers, a gentle pause in the air between them. "When was the last time you enjoyed a meal?" With a slight shrug, she conveyed a world of indifference. "I believe it was yesterday. Perhaps it was the day prior." A wave of raw emotion surged within Hyman, instinct to shield. A fire of indignation, a heavy cloak of remorse. He rose suddenly, as if compelled by an unseen force. "Let's go. Just around the corner. There's a cozy little diner waiting to be discovered. It's not wise to accompany those I do not know." John took a moment to gather his thoughts. "It seems we've crossed the threshold into familiarity." "I am John. Eli," she said, pausing for a moment as if weighing her words carefully. "You don't seem to carry the air of a threat." He nearly chuckled. "There are those who might see it differently." In the cozy diner, John observed Eli as he relished every bite of a grilled cheese sandwich, cradling it in both hands as if it were a treasure that could slip away at any moment. Her demeanor was flawless, calm, appreciative, and composed. The waitress cast a glance his way, a silent question hanging in the air. "Is she yours?" John simply nodded in response. Perhaps she had not fully arrived, but a transformation was quietly unfolding within him. As she savored her meal, a gentle hum escaped her lips' intricate melodies, woven together in a rhythmic dance. It took John a moment to grasp the truth. Her humming was not mere chance. In the depths of her thoughts, she was weaving together a tapestry of meaning. "What melody dances upon your lips?" he inquired. "It's a tale of numbers," she replied. "Sounds guide me in grasping their essence. When arranged correctly, they resonate like a beautiful melody." John felt his heart race. "What sort of figures?" "Market charts," she declared, her tone suggesting it was as clear as day. "I appreciate their graceful movements. The cycles shift, yet they inevitably return to a sense of the known. Once upon a time, there was a child unlike any other. Not just an ordinary mind. Eli had embarked on a journey of self-discovery, learning to interpret stock patterns through the symphony of sound, transforming visual graphs into auditory tones and weaving melodies from the dance of market movements. He leaned in closer, as if the world around them faded away. "Eli, how about finding a cozy spot to rest in the warmth tonight? There exists a room in my dwelling that is currently unoccupied. Just a simple tale, free of any gimmicks or stress. Only safety." For a stretch of time, she remained silent. At last, she inquired, "Do you feel a sense of solitude?" John's eyes fluttered open, a moment of surprise washing over him. "Indeed, I feel the same," she replied with a quiet sincerity. "Very well. However, I shall claim the side with the window." That night, as Eli lay nestled on the couch with her harmonica close at hand, John lingered in the doorway, a stirring sense of significance washing over him, as if the dawn of something extraordinary had just begun. He found himself in a haze of uncertainty, grappling with the essence of this moment. Not just yet. Yet, he understood this truth. He had embarked on the initial journey toward redemption by a blind girl whose vision surpassed that of anyone he had ever encountered. John found himself taken aback as the unexpected melody of piano keys filled the air of his apartment. Yet, in that stillness, gentle and tentative melodies began to weave their way through the quiet. He was drawn by the melody into his living room, where Eli sat at the old upright piano, a relic untouched for years. Her hands danced above the keys, moving with an enchanting, instinctive elegance. "I believed you were lost in dreams," he murmured gently. "I was," she softly whispered. "Yet your apartment possesses a mood. It continually transforms." John let out a soft, warm laugh, accompanied by Chopin. "I'm not familiar with that person," Eli confessed. "I simply expressed the melody of the numbers." Perplexed, John settled beside her. "Which figures?" "The ones in your notebooks." She directed her unseeing gaze in his direction. "I discovered them in your office. I never intended to pry, yet the cadence was all too familiar." "Hold on, you actually read those?" "I heard their whispers," she said, tapping her temple. "I transformed them into melodies within my mind. Then I transformed the sequence into a beautiful symphony." John's eyelids fluttered momentarily. The financial models she spoke of were among the most intricate he had ever constructed. Risk simulations harking back to his days at the hedge fund. She had transformed years of information into melodies. "I thought it was beautiful," Eli whispered, his voice carrying a hint of wonder. He retrieved the spiral-bound ledger from his office, turning to the page she had referenced. Then, he posed a question that seemed beyond reach. "Can you play it again? Is this part of the narrative?" Eli nodded and commenced his tale. The music wove a spell, ebbing and flowing like the unpredictable tides of the market's pulse. Every shift in tone echoed the turbulence. The clash of sounds signified uncertainty. She had transformed derivatives trading into a symphony of sound, and John grasped the essence of it. It was as if the very essence of Wall Street exhaled, a rhythmic pulse echoing through the concrete canyons. What more unfolds before your eyes? What I'm saying is, listen closely, he inquired, his heart racing with anticipation. Patterns exist, she declared. A few of them echo. Others are mistaken, incorrect, as if someone had meddled with them. I'm not quite sure of the term, but it feels akin to compelling a tune to find its conclusion before it has truly unfolded. The narrative falters. It pains me. John stood still, caught in the moment. He opened another notebook, revealing projections from the final quarter before his company met its dismissive varied data he had once thought was deliberately undermined. Would you care to hear this one? Ellie's fingers danced across the keys once more. Her expression transformed bros whereupon together. Jaw set tight. This is not good, she murmured. It seems like a clever play of influence. John felt a sudden hitch in his breath. For all these months, he had carried the weight of blame upon his shoulders, convinced that he was the architect of his own downfall, unable to perceive the intricate web that had ensnared him. Yet Eli had just unveiled a truth that no auditor or analyst had ever uncovered. The system had been tampered with, and she discovered the truth not in numbers or records but in the whispers of sound. Do you grasp the significance of this? John inquired, his voice trembling. Eli gave a thoughtful nod. That you weren't out of your mind, and that I could serve a purpose. John chuckled, but then his expression turned serious. Beyond mere utility, you have revealed a truth that eluded me, despite my vast resources and a dedicated team of researchers. On that fateful night, John found himself unable to drift into slumber. He perched by the window, gazing at the city lights dancing in the night, while the haunting melody of unspoken treachery echoed in his thoughts. Amidst the enchanting melodies, lay a hidden truth, and Eli was just beginning to grasp its essence. John hadn't dared to revisit that file in years one marked Q for collapse. It loomed like a gravestone on his hard drive, a haunting testament to the empire he once commanded and ultimately lost. But now, with Eli by his side, attuned to rhythms that eluded others, he clicked it open. Are you all right? Eli inquired softly from the couch, her hands gently cradling her harmonica. I'm not entirely certain, John confessed. It was the moment when all threads unraveled. Eli nodded, captivated as John shared fragments of the data set through a sonification program she had assisted him in crafting. Every spike and dip in the market transformed into a symphony of sounds and notes, piercing and tumultuous, while others flowed with a serene predictability. And in that dissonance, John perceived it as well, an element that felt utterly out of place. You were right, he murmured softly. That segment, it ought not to exist in that place. The models were manipulated. This was a crafted turbulence. He stood there, the weight of the revelation washing over him, leaving him momentarily speechless. 4 years, he had carried the heavy burden of failure's shame. He accepted the tale that he had misjudged, become careless, and dulled his sharpness. Yet, with Ellie's guidance, he finally uncovered the truth. The downfall was not born from arrogance. It was an act of betrayal. John reclined, his gaze drifting up to the ceiling above. I constructed my existence upon the foundation of data. Eli, in the realm of mastery, reasoning, I once believed that numbers revealed the unvarnished truth clear and impartial. Yet, I could never have foreseen that they could be twisted to weave such deceit in a harmonious manner. Eli wore a wistful smile. All things have the capacity to deceive. All is quiet. Yet, for those who truly listen, the hidden truth whispers softly beneath the surface. That resonated with John more profoundly than he had anticipated. In a realm where wealth reigned supreme, how had a sightless girl with a fractured harmonica emerge as the most resonant voice of wisdom? In my past musings, I believed that success was defined by towering skyscrapers, private jets, and deals sealed over lavish $10. Zero dinners. He reflected. Yet now, it seems as though I've woven a tale of deception for myself. How does it feel in this moment? What is it that you seek? She inquired. He turned to gaze at her barefoot, wrapped in his old Harvard sweatshirt that enveloped her petite figure, legs tucked beneath her on the couch as if she were meant to be there. It felt as though I possessed wealth in all the misguided forms. He remarked. Eli let out a soft, amused laugh. What a wonderful beginning for a fresh chapter. From that day onward, John transformed. It wasn't merely in the little changes such as swapping whiskey for herbal tea, or rising early to prepare oatmeal for Ella, but in the very essence of his outlook on life. With Ellie's guidance, he wove together market trends with musical scales and emotional tones, crafting a fresh language that transcended charts and numbers. And more importantly, he started to truly listeno the world around him. To Eli, and to the long silence part of himself, the part that still held onto the belief in purpose. He now viewed Eli not as a vulnerable child, but as someone transformed. He perceived her true essence, a visionary spirit, and perhaps his opportunity for redemption. On a rainy Tuesday, the scene unfolded with Eli rhythmically tapping her fingers on the kitchen table, while John busied himself in the art of pancake making. The rhythm she wove was enchanting 6 beats, a moment of stillness, followed by 3 swift taps. Then tell it again. What is that? He inquired, turning over a rather misshapen pancake. Dow Jones, she remarked with a nonchalant air. The final 30 minutes. John blinked, his eyes momentarily lost in the vastness of the world around him. Are you weaving the pulse of market changes into a melody? Eli gave a thoughtful nod. It aids me in maintaining my focus. One can sense the shift in the atmosphere, much like the moment when the deep bass begins to overshadow the delicate melody. With a clatter, John let the spatula slip from his grasp. Eli, are you aware of the masterpiece you've just brought to life? She took a moment, her brow furrowing in thought. A chaotic tale? No, he exclaimed, his eyes brimming with astonishment. An innovative tool designed to empower those with visual impairments in managing their finances. And so, with a turn of the page, a new adventure unfolded before them. John brushed the cobwebs off his connections, reaching out to a former software engineer who had a debt to repay. And not just one. In just a fortnight, they crafted a basic prototype, a system that transformed livestock market data into intricate soundscapes. Users could hear the whispers of volatility, trends, and risk, just as Eli once did. It transcended mere accessibility, was a call to arms for change. They called it sonar, sound-oriented navigational analysis for returns. John first envisioned this as a specialized instrument, a tribute to Ellie's genius. Yet, those who seek opportunities, guides of knowledge, financial establishments, the blind community was especially charged with excitement. A message arrived, stating, "At last, I sense the power to navigate the market on my own, free from the need for others to interpret the charts for me." Eli transformed my existence. Once more, in Afghanistan, I lost my sight. Never imagined I'd encounter the world of finance once more until sonar appeared on the horizon. John observed Eli radiate with joy and satisfaction. For her, it was never about the spotlight or the riches. It was a tale of purpose and significance, witnessed with each demonstration they presented, in every space where individuals first felt the profound essence of financial flow. John understood they were crafting a new tomorrow. Eli passionately advocated for the technology to stay open source. If we demand payment for the knowledge of the world around us, we're no different from those who kept me from it, she declared. John found himself at a loss for words. With the final remnants of his liquid assets, he breathed life into a non-profit arm and sought a patent not to claim the technology as his own, but to shield it from the grasp of ownership. As the weeks unfolded, their apartment evolved into a unique blend of a laboratory and a haven. Cables wove their way across the floor, while whiteboards adorned the walls, filled with intricate algorithms and the enchanting notes of musical keys. Ellie's harmonica lay quietly next to the inaugural Sonar headset, now embraced by countless beta testers across the nation. John uncovered a profound truth. This transcended mere inclusion. It was about transforming finance into an experience that could be sensed, resonated, and truly lived, not merely observed. Once upon a time, there was a girl who possessed the extraordinary ability to discern the truth concealed within the clamor of the world. The triumph of Sonar started to spread in ways that John had never imagined. The tale of the blind girl decoding Wall Street caught the attention of tech blogs. And though Eli found it amusing, she chose to decline any interviews. "They have no interest in my presence," she remarked, "merely the essence of my being." John grasped the essence of it all. He had once woven public images like these, flawless, shimmering dreams. Yet Eli had no desire to be anyone's savior. Her heart yearned to create something of significance. As darkness enveloped the world outside, they found solace by the window, gazing out at the shimmering East River. John cradled a warm cup of chamomile tea, while Ellie's pencil danced across staff paper, capturing the melodies that filled the air. He observed her blossoming into a figure of confidence, shedding her layers of caution. She had grown accustomed to the greetings of strangers, her posture transforming from a defensive hunch to a stance of upright strength. Yet, the journey of growth was not without its trials. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow, Eli found herself pausing in the midst of testing a new Sonar update. In that moment, she wrapped her arms around herself, a gesture that spoke volumes. "What could it be? What do you think?" John inquired. "The crash," she murmured softly. "I sense its approach, as it was in times past." John gazed at the screen, realizing her instincts had been spot on. In a realm where fortunes hung by a thread, a sector found itself burdened by excessive debt, precariously close to its downfall. Yet, it was not the data that filled her with fear. It was the recollection. He lowered himself beside her. "You are in a place of safety. This time, you have company." With a swift nod, she brushed away her tears. "Reflecting on those moments of vulnerability is something I find difficult." "You possess strength now," John declared, "and you were never truly that." The following day, Eli took an unexpected turn of events. She expressed a desire to return to the familiar street corner of her past, the tale of their first encounter. "What is the reason? What do you think?" John inquired. "For I must witness it, or at the very least, be present in that moment." They journeyed side by side. The sidewalk remained unchanged, yet Eli had transformed. With a commanding presence, she held a harmonica in one hand and a Sonar device in the other. She played not for riches, but to bid farewell to the fear, the chill, and the hunger that once shaped her existence. John stood still, enveloped in a wave of emotions, his heart racing with unspoken thoughts. Once, a year passed. He was a soul shattered by the weight of his own pride and the insatiable hunger of greed. Now, standing beside this childish daughter in every sense that counted, felt a wealth that no account could ever quantify. Upon their return home, Eli unveiled yet another surprise for him. "You ought to strum a tune," she suggested, offering him his well-worn acoustic guitar. "It's been ages since I last played, back in my college days. And so, the moment has arrived." The chords may have been rusty, yet his fingers danced with the echoes of the past. As he played, Eli found himself humming along, and in that moment, they were weaving together something entirely fresh, a creation that belonged solely to them, a tale of a father and his daughter, Two souls who emerged from the shadows of systems that sought to obliterate their existence, now crafting a tale of their own. Amidst that symphony, John came to understand. His redemption unfolded not through the act of rescuing Eli. It arose from granting her the chance to save him as well. The conference room hummed with a palpable sense of expectation. Gathered in one place were the visionaries from tech firms, the advocates from accessibility nonprofits, and the stalwarts of major financial institutions set to unveil a new product. But to bear witness to a transformative moment, John fidgeted with his tie, a hint of anxiety flickering in his eyes. At 61, facing an audience once more felt like stepping into a world that had changed around me. Yet, he found himself in the company of others. Eli stood beside him, headphones enveloping her ears, fingers softly drumming against her thigh, attuned to the pulsations of the room. As the lights faded and the presentation unfolded, it was not John who took the stage first. It was Eli, the one who weaves tales that linger in the air like whispers of the past. "Good morning," she proclaimed, her voice unwavering and crisp. "You might recognize me as the girl without sight from that video. Yet, my purpose isn't to uplift or inspire. I've arrived at this moment, weary of the voices that insist on defining our limits of understanding." Silence enveloped the room. The charts were beyond my view. Thus, I came to understand their whispers. It appears that markets dance to their own rhythms. Risk carries a melody. The melodies of patterns resonate. I didn't conjure up anything extraordinary. I crafted an interpretation of the world that resonated with my understanding, and now it can weave its meaning for others. 2. With a sweeping motion, she directed attention to a grand screen that came alive, pulsating with vibrant, color-coded waveforms, real-time data from the markets, transformed into captivating soundscapes by sonar. One by one, the participants donned the headphones that were offered to them. With a spark of surprise, their eyes grew wide. Some were smiles, while others felt the sting of tears. It's akin to catching the pulse of the marketplace. A voice softly murmured. Eli took a step back, pausing to gather his thoughts. John stepped into her world. "You were absolutely captivating," he whispered. She shrugged, yet the pride radiated from her face like a beacon. "I simply shared the truth." The event marked a turning point. Sonar transcended mere functionality. It became a powerful force that inspired change. Universities started weaving it into the fabric of finance curricula. Wall Street firms delved into the possibilities it held for data analysis. Yet, the most significant change was that those who had long been sidelined from the world of finance, because of visual impairments, were finally welcomed into the fold. A month later, John and Eli found themselves at the United Nations, ready to share their insights on the power of inclusive innovation. When inquired about the spark behind the project, John responded without a moment's pause, understanding, attentive to the whispers of the world. "And a harmonica, too." Amidst the chorus of laughter that danced through the gathering, his gaze was unwavering, fixed on Eli, who returned the look with a warm smile and a subtle nod. In the heart of New York, the rhythm of life refused to settle back into its familiar cadence. It transformed into something greater. Their apartment, though modest, brimmed with warmth, creativity, and vibrant hues. The dining room wall now showcased a multitude of letters from students, veterans, single parents discovering their voice in a system that had once overlooked them. On a quiet evening, Eli nestled next to John on the couch. "Have you ever pondered how things might have unfolded in another way?" "What do you think?" she inquired. He paused, letting the silence weave its magic around his thoughts. "Had it been otherwise, I would never have discovered you." With a gentle curve of her lips, she smiled. "In that case, I find solace in its shattering." With a gentle embrace, he wrapped his arm around her, his heart brimming with warmth. "I feel the same way." For in the depths of loss, we often uncover the treasure that truly holds significance. And in Eli, John discovered more than just redemption. He discovered a place where his heart belonged. True wealth transcends the confines of dollars, titles, or square footage. It resides in the depths of purpose, the bonds we forge, and the bravery to recognize worth in places where others may not see it. John, a figure once revered by the bustling streets of Wall Street, found himself stripped of all that society deems as triumph. Yet in that loss, he unearthed a deeper truth. The most remarkable minds often dwell far beyond the confines of boardrooms. At times, they linger in the shadows of street corners, cradling harmonicas in their hands rather than diplomas from prestigious institutions. Eli didn't require vision to perceive the world in a unique light, longed for someone to share in the faith she already held. And John, with his open heart and eager mind, transformed into the individual he was destined to become, not a titan of industry, but a protector of brilliance. In their journey, they unveiled a profound truth. True innovation is born not from wealth or recognition, but from a deep understanding of others. When we choose to open our hearts rather than our wallets, we hold the power to transform not just a single life, but the entire world. This tale invites us to rethink our perceptions of talent, success, and leadership in the world we inhabit. Innovations such as AI, sound mapping, and adaptive technologies are creating pathways for individuals with disabilities. Innovative platforms such as Be My Eyes, Seeing AI, and inclusive finance apps are weaving a new tapestry of accessibility. Yet, these instruments are merely the prologue. The real transformation occurs when people, guides, leaders, or teachers decide to nurture potential rather than merely refine the surface. Begin with the art of listening, then take your step. Your influence could be the key to revealing extraordinary potential.